Bat, and her father was called Sphere Bat. Okay? Hence, if you want to know why he was called Thelonious Sphere Monk, you have to ask his father and grandfather. Well, Monk started playing piano at the age of 9. He lived in the same neighbourhood of Manhattan as James B. Johnson, the great stride piano player. Stride piano being known because the left hand would stride up and down enormous distances. There's a book about the stride piano players called A Left Hand Like God, which is what they needed to be able to play in that style. And you hear his own idiosyncratic, quirky version of that stride piano right throughout Monk's career. In the 1940s, he was the house pianist at Minton's Playhouse, where bebop, the new form of jazz, was created. And he invented the new look for jazz musicians, which was a beret and shades. Okay, that's the reason. In 1943, Monk was rejected from the army because of his mental health issues, and he did indeed have very serious mental health issues throughout his life. He would pace around for days on end. He would not talk for days. He'd go into silence. He had erratic sleep patterns, and sometimes he would be awake in the night and sleep in the day. Sometimes the other way around, it would depend on when he got tired. And he also had a habit, which I'm not going to reproduce, I promise you, of during one of his performances, he'd get up from the piano for a little while and he'd start to dance, and then he'd sit down again. He was looked after by the two women in his life, who were Nellie Monk, his wife, and Baroness Panonica Rothschild, who came from the richest family in the world. That helped a lot. Both of them, both Nellie and Panonica, recognised his genius. Unfortunately, a lot of other people didn't. An incredible story about Thelonious Monk is that he was booked at the Village Vanguard Jazz Club in New York in 1948 for a week, and literally not one person turned up, not one person for his week's booking at the Vanguard. But some did recognise his genius, and he recorded, and he eventually broke through with an album recorded in 1955 in which he played the songs of Duke Ellington. And it's usually thought that it was because he was playing Duke Ellington songs that everybody knew that people were able to recognise and understand his genius for the first time. Contemporary jazz composer John Zorn said something about Monk which I think is very insightful and it's worth remembering. He says, if you can't hear the outrageousness of his music, the outrageousness of the music, then you're not hearing it correctly. Okay, so the first song we're going to play is Monk's composition called Evidence, and the philosophical theme, which I'm going to combine with it, is about scepticism. believe, the main evidence, is testimony. What you were taught by your parents, at school, what you've read, or what you've heard. They might have all been lying to you. Okay, you find out some stuff for yourself. Is what you experience now. Nobody's telling you that you're at a jazz philosophy concert with the world's only jazz philosophy band continuing sounds. But of course, relying on what you experience all depends on there being the right stuff out there to cause your experience, to cause your perception. It might not be the right stuff. The cause might be something different. It might not be me standing here. That might not be the reason for what you can see, the voice you can hear. It may be the case that your brain is being manipulated by extraterrestrials. Well, that's very unlikely. But maybe you're on your own. Maybe you're some kind of cosmic bored god. Maybe you're making this all up. Maybe you're hallucinating this. So when you think about it, the reason you believe what you believe is either testimony or experience. And both of those kinds of evidence are very sparse. Very sparse. And I think about the tuning research. Why do you think that monk called evidence what he called it? Why do you think that monk called evidence what he called it? It's just so sparse. Your evidence is sparse. Why do you think that monk called evidence what he called it?